So, Kuntal Joyshar is an engineer by profession, a mountaineer by passion, and a vegan by compassion. In late 2002, Kuntal Joyshar decided to go on a vegan diet after he connected the dots that there's no difference between a glass of milk, a block of cheese, or for that matter, a piece of meat. Sometime in 2009, he discovered the calling of his life to climb the very top of Mount Everest. After 7 years of physical and mental training, fitness training, two failed attempts, mind you, twice he could not do it, but he didn't give up. Due to natural disasters, he could not complete the summit. But after the third time, he finally stood on the very top of Mount Everest on May 19th, 2016. And he proved that climbing big mountains, or the tallest mountain in the world, is very much possible on a vegan diet. So I would request Kuntal to come on stage, and along with him the other panelists. We have Dharmendra Kumar, who is an ultra marathon athlete. Is he around, Dharmendra? Okay. And Shamal Vallabhji, a sports scientist. Shamal is around? Shamal? Please have a seat, gentlemen. Yeah, please come in, Shamal. Hi. So while we're waiting for Kuntal, Kuntal has also come on board right now. So I'm not much of a fitness person, so I will hand over the stage to Kuntal to introduce the other panelists and also to tell us a little bit more about what he's going to be doing. Yeah.
So actually, I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves. But you know, Dharma is of course a kick-ass, awesome ultra runner from Bangalore. Siddharth is our very own Mumbai boy. He's the first vegan Ironman of India. Guys, a big round of applause for Siddharth. And you know, Shamal is a sports scientist, but also is like a really awesome, you know, he helps people heal their sports injuries. He works with some, you know, good big sports teams to help their athletes, you know, become better. We are also Aman, who's like a really nice fitness trainer and a fitness expert. I think he's just finding the pavilion, so he should be here quickly. But what I want to start with is, what I hope to do through this session is, I want to get out their stories, in the sense, you know, why they went vegan and, you know, what their passions are, what they're doing. So I want to get those stories out. I want to, you know, get into more of what they eat in a day. Because most people are always, you know, worried, अरे मुझे मेरा protein कहाँ से मिलेगा, मुझे मेरा, you know, calcium कहाँ से मिलेगा, nutrition कहाँ से मिलेगा, कैसे होगा ये सब. I'm a bodybuilder or I'm an endurance athlete. ये सब कैसे होने वाला है. So I, you know, hope through their stories, through, you know, them sharing their details, I hope you will get a good insight. I also want to touch upon points like if they use supplements or what their sense is about supplements, which supplements, those kind of things. But more, I really hope that you folks also have questions for us, that you folks can ask us questions, and even I am here to answer about questions about my journey or how I train, but more for them of, you know, how they sort of, you know, did whatever they did. So please, we want the session to be interactive. So apart from the initial portion, we want you guys to, you know, pitch in, start asking questions, and, you know, that's how we'll take this forward. So again, basically, I would like each one of you, to sort of share your vegan stories with, you know, the audience, like why you went vegan, what were your reasons behind it, and also what your passions lie. You know, what are your sports, or what is your life's passion? What's your life's Everest? Like, you know, how my Everest is climbing Everest. What are your Everests? And, you know, how vegan comes into that picture, or if it does come into picture. So, if you can share with everyone. And take your time, we have time.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. My name is Shamal Vallabhji. I'm a sports scientist and a performance psychologist. And I think I spent the last 20 years working with professional athletes. So everyone from, I'm currently with Kings 11 Punjab, with St. Lucia Stars, but I started my career with the South African cricket team, the Indian cricket team, on the ATP tour with all your tennis stars, some foreigners, Mahesh Pupari, Sanya, Gail Monfields, people like that. My job's been, it's quite taxing, in the sense that the reason why it's quite taxing is, as a sports scientist, the difference between 1 and 4 in any competitive event is less than 0.5%. Okay? And that 0.5% sometimes can equate to 1/100th of a second. So if you blink your eye, it takes you 300ths of a second. Alright, so if you blink your eye at the wrong time in a Olympic finals, 4 people have gone past the finish line. Okay, so that is the extent of performance enhancement that I'm working at. Sometimes I have to analyze 350 different variables to decide which is the one variable that I want to change to make that athlete better. Okay, and so my studying has gone right across the board, and my Everest has been, to be honest, taking from what he said, was I used to play cricket in South Africa, but because I grew up in an apartheid era, I couldn't play for the country because we had what was called a quota system. So my life is dedicated to creating platforms that are free and fair, and I believe all children should have the opportunity to play. So that's all I do. I try to create avenues for children to play, and I try to keep those avenues free and fair. I've been vegetarian my entire life. I've been vegan for about 8 years now, and the reason why I've been vegan was before I make my athletes do anything, I test it out on myself. Any supplement that I give them, any diet, any method of eating, whatever it is, and I biohack the body and mind. So I test not just the equivalence of something from a physiological level, I test it from a psychological level, because at the world where I work at, the margin for error is minuscule, the penalty for failure is quite high. So I need to understand exactly, whilst I'm prescribing something and I can understand the physiological benefits of it, I need to understand what is the psychological benefit of it. Is it actually going to deplete and drain them from focus when they need it the most? So I'm acid testing a lot of things. And one of the reasons I went vegan in acid testing everything from being completely vegetarian was looking at the anti-inflammatory response in the body, okay, and looking at the healing responses. And I had to acid test a few different theories. One is athletes not getting enough protein intake versus athletes having to consume almost 4x the same quantity of food whilst getting that in. And that was a bit of a challenge. So we went back into the labs. I was looking with athletes. And I found ways to microdose on certain things. I found ways to inject a lot of antioxidants into the body to fast track the healing process, right? Which bifurcated them and prevented them from having to eat copious amounts but recover. Because in my world, recovery is the most important thing. You can only perform if you're recovering. And for every Hussein Bolts, for example, I keep giving him as an example, his total competition time for 8 gold medals is 1 minute 47 seconds. Okay, he would have competed for more than 20,000 hours. So if you're not recovering quick enough, you won't be able to practice for 20,000 hours to be able to compete for 2 minutes. Okay, so recovery is critically important for me. So as a sports scientist and a psychologist, I'm constantly weighing the two options of what is the response to a certain substance that we put in the body from a healing point of view, from a performance point of view, from a psychological point of view, and from a physiological point of view. So that's my introduction, and I think I'll pass it on. Everyone else can talk a bit.
By the way, Aman is here. So,
Sorry I'm late, guys. Aman se start kar. Punishment. Late aaya.
hello.
Punishment late aaya. Hi, so good evening everyone. Firstly, sorry I'm late. I've come from Pune and got a little introduction to the Mumbai traffic. So anyway, a little introduction about myself. I'm a fitness professional. I studied nutrition and exercise from the SBS Academy in the UK. Basically what I do is I help people reach their fitness goals, whether they are athletes. For the most part, I work with general population clients who just want to build a little muscle, lose a little fat, become healthier. So that's what I do. And I believe, Kuntal, you also wanted to know about my vegan story. Yeah. So how I became vegan is an interesting story. Because I used to be the guy who used to be very, very skeptical of veganism. I was the guy who would probably, point at a vegan and say, why are you vegan? There is absolutely no good reason for you to be vegan. And I come from a very hardcore family of meat eaters. In fact, almost every single meal I used to eat used to have some some animal products. So breakfast used to be eggs, lunch would always be chicken or mutton, and dinner would also always be chicken or mutton. So I really used to enjoy my meat, and it was very difficult for people to believe that I would consider transitioning to a meat-free diet. Um, at the same time, I also have this interest in philosophy and critical thinking, uh, which basically means to say that it's important for me to have a good enough reason for my actions and my thoughts. So I used to be on the athletics team in my college, and our athletic captain, he was a vegetarian. All of us were non-vegetarians except for him. And the ground where we used to compete at, that had only vegetarian options around the area. So around lunchtime is when we used to go to one of the restaurants and grab a meal, and most of us used to always be complaining कि अरे क्या है ये शाकाहारी खाना क्या है. We are athletes, we need our protein, we need our meat, we need our eggs. So just one day, out of curiosity, I asked my captain, his name is Hemang, by the way, Abhishek, you probably know him. I asked him, why don't you eat meat? Have you never felt like eating meat or anything of that sort? And he just told me that what you're eating is an animal which didn't want to die. Just something you want, that makes it uncomfortable for me to consume. And that's all he said. He didn't say anything. We didn't have a really big argument. Others brought up the plants argument, and they said, oh, but plants have feelings too, and plants are also living things. But that kind of planted a seed in my mind, and after that I basically tried to find if I had a good enough reason to consume animals for nourishment or anything like that. My big dilemma was there are so many intelligent people who consume meat, so there must be a good enough reason for them to consume meat. And yeah, that led me down to this path of just trying to find a good enough reason, and I was not able to find a good enough reason. And that's why I switched over to veganism.
Hi guys, my name is Dharmendra, and for the starters, in terms of introduction, I run and I make other people run. So this has been my profession and my passion for the last, I would say, 4 years now. I run a business which is entirely based on sports and fitness and primarily into running. Though I started running back in 2009, like how anybody would start, I felt intimidated by probably a kilometer to run or walk, and when I went out for my training, I huffed and puffed to the kilometer that I had kind of taken, and I felt that no, there's something that I need to do, because I think it was that time in my life and in my career that you start looking out of avenues beyond your professional and personal life in terms of what you want to do. And I kind of saw that in running, and that's how it started. And it was just a matter of time before I started enjoying. I'm sure guys who run out, how many of you are runners here? If I can just see by show of hands, right? Yeah. So I think quite a good number. So as you know, things get better with time. It's not something that you have to learn compared to other fitness formats. You can do it by yourself, and that's what I did. You learn along the way, you start enjoying along the way. And after that, it is just a matter of how much you think you want to run, right? It is, I wouldn't say, that anybody has a limit, but it is just a milestone that one puts into that, okay, today I'm going to do 5, 10, or compete, whatever the distance. You put that limit onto yourself, all right? So, like I said, I started back in 2009. It just grew from distance to distance, and then I started doing my marathons. But then I think along the line what happened was like how we all get caught up in this stress of running is what I call it, right? We get started in running for health reasons, fitness reasons, and all of that, and then in fact a lot of us want to get into running to get rid of the stress that we have in our existing life, and then we get caught in the whole stress being caused of running, whether it is waking up early, sleeping early, or probably even doing a better time. They say that, we hear of this beautiful quotes that I'm not competing with others, I'm competing with myself. You know, that competing with myself is also a stress. Believe me, think about it a little deeper, that you are on that journey where you're trying to beat your previous time, right? This whole concept of PB and PR is adding stress to our life, all right? So I did that. I got into that whole swirl and the whole entangle of the timing and all of that. And then I realized to myself that, hey, this is causing me much more stress than what I set out to do. So this is not working for me. Then I decided that I'm going to run for distance and I'm not going to run for time. If running is what I enjoy, let me just run, right? I moved out from the whole clutches of marathon and PBs, and I said that let's go long. And of course, how many of you are ultra runners here? Okay, so you guys would understand that ultra running is a sport where you get to eat, you get to sleep, and in between you run. That's how I like to put it. So it sounded quite interesting to me, and that's how I enjoyed. And I didn't have this whole hassle of running after a time. Of course, there is a push that comes in terms of physiological as well as psychological when you are trying to get into a particular distance of 100 kilometers or running for 24 hours. Everything related to running is already in it, right? And of course, it's not like you're not stopping, right? You do stop when you tend to stop. You take your breaks, you recover, and then you start again, all right? So coming to how I went into the vegan journey. My vegan journey is related to my running journey. So what happened was, when I started going into the ultra marathon distance, that's when I started to find out for help. So we all know that the fuel that we give to ourselves can only take you a certain distance, right? Hitting the wall, eating the carbs, eating all of that. So I started delving into how is that I can fuel myself better to go longer. And at that point of time, you know, there were these ultra marathon athletes based out in the West whom I followed. And coincidentally, the couple of them whom I followed turned out to be vegan. So I read about their journey, their transition, and in terms of how it helped them to be a better ultra runner. Then I got convinced that yes, there are people who have proven this with probably you know, more amount of meat than what I eat. So we have a living example, somebody who has done it. Then what I did was, I also wanted to see the clinical side of it, in terms of if somebody is propagating a vegan diet or a plant-based diet, good, that's good, but what does the science say? So that's when I started reading about you know, the science part of it. There is I don't know whether some of you follow, there is an athlete by the name Brendan Brazier who has put on a lot of scientific reasons and a lot of clinical reasons in terms of how a plant-based diet helps. I read through that. I read through a lot of other research on that. And that's when I got convinced that if it is about running long, then I have to make the transition to a vegan diet. At that point of time, these talks and these doubts about protein, these doubts about vitamin B12 are very, very insignificant, because I had done enough study to know that those are not your roadblocks, those are not the parameters that you have to look at. And I think in the larger scheme of things, it was you know, important for me to switch over to a plant-based or a vegan diet, and that's what I did at my 35th birthday, and I have not looked back ever since. In fact, most of my long distances I have covered on a vegan diet. And just to touch upon, I'm sure we will get chance to touch upon more, but I think the important aspect is that you feel a lot lighter when you on a plant-based diet, and also the recovery, because in terms of training, we train in day out, we put in a lot of mileage, so you need to be well recovered for your next day morning run. I think you know, a lot of us do not give importance to the rest and the recovery period, whether it is induced by sleep or it is induced by the diet. But rest is an important area, as Samuel mentioned, about every athlete, whether whatever the domain is, and it really helps on such kind of a diet. Thank you.
हेलो, सबको आवाज आ रही है? मेरा गला एक्चुअली थोड़ा खराब है। ओके, धर्मेंद्र जी ने बहुत अच्छी बात बताई हमें। मेरा नाम सिद्धार्थ है और वीगनिज्म की जर्नी मेरी कुछ 5 साल पहले शुरू हुई थी। मैं एज ए बैंकर काम करता था कॉरपोरेट वर्ल्ड में, और जैसा कि कॉरपोरेट वर्ल्ड के लोगों के साथ होता है कि सुबह ऑफिस जाने के स्ट्रेस में ऑफिस की कैंटीन में चाय से जो शुरुआत होती है, क्योंकि एथलीट्स जो प्रोफेशनल एथलीट्स हैं वो खाने पीना ट्रेनिंग वो सब ध्यान दे सकते हैं, बट एज ए कॉरपोरेट बहुत मुश्किल होता है, ये मैं खुद देख चुका हूँ। तो बस वही हुआ कि लंच का पता नहीं और रात के खाने का कोई ठिकाने नहीं, तो 95 केजी कब वेट पहुंच गया पता नहीं पड़ा। 92, 95, 90s में ही वेट रहा करता था और बीमार पड़ने लगे थे। तो एक दिन लोकल ट्रेन पकड़ने की कोशिश में जब सांस फूल गया तो समझ में आया कि बेटा ये क्या हो रहा है, 35 साल की उम्र में सांस फूल रहा है, तो इसका कुछ करना पड़ेगा। तो फिर रिसर्च शुरू हुई, थोड़ी बहुत करता था बट तब भी सीरियस नहीं था कि ठीक है चलने दो। फिर किडनी स्टोन हुआ हमें कुछ 14 mm का, तो हॉस्पिटल के बिस्तर पे पड़े, ऑपरेशन हुआ, इधर उधर सीरिंज वीरिंज लगी, दर्द, काफ़ी दर्द भी झेला। फिर उसके अगले साल फिर हुआ, दोबारा किडनी स्टोन रिकर हो रहा था मतलब। सो धीरे धीरे बात समझ में आई कि कुछ ना कुछ तो गड़बड़ है। तो इलाज तो होता था बट कारण समझ में नहीं आता था कि ये होता क्यों है। डॉक्टर्स वर कि यार ये तो बॉडी का टेंडेंसी है, ये तो होगा। तो रोज 1 गिलास दूध पियो। मैंने कहा यार दूध पियो, कि हाँ बॉडी में जो कुछ ऑक्सलेट कैल्शियम है, ये कैल्शियम जाएगा वो ऑक्सलेट के साथ मिलेगा एंड वो कैल्शियम फिर जो बॉडी में एक्स्ट्रा इकट्ठा है वो इकट्ठा नहीं होगा। मैं कहा ठीक है वही कर लेते हैं। फिर रोज 1 गिलास दूध पीते थे, तो अगले साल फिर स्टोन हो गया। 3rd ईयर अगेन, दिस टाइम इट वाज 12 mm। मेरे डॉक्टर साहब अब ये क्या, कि यार ये तो बॉडी का टेंडेंसी था, तो फिर आप दूध पीने के लिए क्यों कह रहे थे? दूध मुझे अच्छा नहीं लगता, मतलब किसी भी बच्चे को पसंद नहीं है दूध, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग। बच्चा कोई भी छोटा कच्चा दूध नहीं पी सकता, गारंटी। फिर हम लोग क्या करते हैं उसमें हॉर्लिक्स, कॉम्प्लान जो भी है घोल घोल के उनको पिलाते रहते हैं। खैर मैं मेरी स्टोरी तक सीमित रखूंगा। तो एक किताब मेरे संपर्क में आई, किताब ही आई मेरे पास, क्योंकि मैं तो ढीठ था, मैं नहीं सुनता था कि मतलब यार छोड़ो यार, खाता था मैं भी मटन चिकन दबा के। ठीक है, क्योंकि उस समय क्या होता है ना कि अभी वो बोलते हैं ना कि विनाश काले विपरीत बुद्धि वाली बात, जब तक बीते नहीं तो समझ में नहीं आती। बस मेरे साथ वैसे ही था एक्चुअली, डिट्टो वैसे ही था। तो डैरिल डिसूजा की बुक पढ़ी मैंने, मेरी वाइफ दिशा यहाँ बैठी हैं, उन्होंने मंगवाई थी, पढ़ी मैंने एक्चुअली। तो उसमें कुछ काफ़ी शॉकिंग फैक्ट्स रिवील हुए मुझे एंड आई वाज टोटली शॉक्ड कि मतलब बहुत हार्श रियलिटी है। और मैं डैरिल को धन्यवाद दूंगा, वो यहाँ है या नहीं मुझे पता नहीं, वो फेस्टिवल में आए हुए हैं, बट एक तरह से मैं ये कह सकता हूँ कि मुझे नया जीवन दान जो मिला है वो सिर्फ डैरिल की वजह से मिला है। तो डैरिल डिसूजा जहाँ भी है, मेरी आवाज़ आप तक पहुँच रही है तो धन्यवाद। और सबसे पहला जो मैंने काम किया वो दूध छोड़ा। और दूध से बनी कोई भी चीज़, मतलब दूध में सब आ गया, छाछ दही एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा जो भी है। नॉनवेज वगैरह मैं काफ़ी पहले छोड़ चुका था, उसकी वजह कुछ और थी, हेल्थ नहीं थी। उसकी वजह ये थी कि मैंने एक बार बकरे को कटते देख लिया था एंड आई वॉज, मतलब जाम हो गया था मैं उसी समय कि ये मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ। एक वो होती है ना अपनी कॉन्शियसनेस, कहीं ना कहीं हिट हो जाता है कुछ, कोई सामने भी काटते हैं तो कुछ नहीं होता, बट मुझे वो हिट हुआ तो मैंने वो छोड़ दिया। बट दूध का मुझे कुछ फैक्ट रिवील हुए तो मैंने दूध छोड़ दिया एकदम। अब होता क्या है कि जब बॉडी क्लियर होती है तो फिर आपके काफ़ी एनर्जी ब्लॉक होती है बॉडी में, ये मैंने खुद एक्सपीरियंस किया है। फिर एनर्जीज खुलती हैं, तो फिर एनर्जी का आप करें क्या जब एनर्जी खुलती है तो फिर आपके लॉ ऑफ अट्रैक्शन होता है ना, वो जरूरी नहीं है कि कोई चीज़ आपकी तरफ आए, इंसान भी आते हैं। मतलब ऐसे पता नहीं कहाँ से स्कूल टाइम का कोई दोस्त यूएस में सचिन मंत्री मुझे मिल गया फेसबुक पे, तो मैंने उसे बोला कि यार तू जैसा स्कूल में दिखता था तू वैसे ही दिखाई देता है, 2 बच्चों का बाप हो गए भी कोई फर्क ही नहीं आया तेरे में। मैंने कहा तू करता क्या है? कहता है मैं रोज दौड़ लगाता हूँ। मैंने कहा दौड़ लगाता है, कितनी दौड़ लगाता है? कहता 3 किलोमीटर रोज। मैंने कहा पागल हो गया, 3 किलोमीटर कोई दौड़ता है? 3 किलोमीटर? कह रहा हाँ तू भी दौड़ सकता है। मैंने कहा पागल हो गया, 3 किलोमीटर टाइम का है? खैर उसने बहुत पीछे पड़ा मेरे, वो मेरे मोबाइल में ऐप डाउनलोड करके थी और अमेरिका से मुझे कॉल करता था, सुबह उठाता था मेरे टाइमिंग के साथ सिंक करके और बोलता था भाई भागना शुरू कर। तो 1 किलोमीटर भी नहीं होता, मैं तो बैठ जाता था कि भाई यार ये अपने बस का नहीं है, आप ही कंटिन्यू करो। मगर उसने मुझे पुश करते रहा, मैं ऐसे फ्रेंड भी होने जरूरी हैं। वो पुश करता रहा मुझे, फिर एक एडिक्शन सा हो गया। मतलब बॉडी स्टार्ट्स डिमांडिंग फॉर मोर व्हेन यू गेट इनटू दैट एक्टिविटी, व्हेन यू गेट इनटू करेक्ट फॉर्म। और बहुत सारी चीज़ें होती हैं जो धीरे धीरे आती हैं, मतलब आप सीखते सीखते ही सीखते हैं, मतलब एक दिन में नहीं होता है। मुझे 1 किलोमीटर से 21 किलोमीटर जाने में 1.5 साल लगा था, तो धीरे धीरे हुआ वो सब। तो एनर्जीज की जहाँ मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, तो फूड चेंज, अपना शरीर क्या है, खाना है और क्या है ना, मतलब जो हम खाते हैं या जो हम देखते हैं सुनते हैं ये सब खाना है अपना। तो खाने में अगर अब फिर आर्गुमेंट शुरू होता है कि पेड़ पौधों में भी तो जान है भाई, वो क्यों खाते हो, है ना। कुंदल भाई आपके सामने भी ये सवाल आते होंगे। 16 साल से वीगन हूं, बहुत सवाल। ओके, तो देखिए कॉन्शियसनेस में मैं बिलीव करता हूं कि एक गाजर को कटते हुए अगर मैं देखूं और एक मुर्गी को कटते हुए देखूं तो मुझे किसके लिए पेन फील होता है। मतलब डेरिल एक बहुत अच्छा एग्जाम्पल दिया करते हैं हमेशा कि अगर हमें 3 दिन भूखा रखा जाए, एकदम पानी भी नहीं खाना भी नहीं, और चौथे दिन कमरे से बाहर निकाला जाए और हमारे सामने 4 बर्तन हो, एक में आपके फल रखे हो, एक में हरी सब्जियां, तीसरे में अनाज और चौथे में मीट, रॉ मीट, पका हुआ नहीं, कच्चा मांस। आपको अगर बाहर छोड़ा जाए आप सबसे पहले कहां जाएंगे, क्या खाना पसंद करेंगे? ऑडियंस? फ्रूट्स। अब फ्रूट्स भी हटा दिए गए, वेजिटेबल भी हटा दो, कच्चा ही सही, अनाज तो खाना पड़ेगा, भूख लगी है। अब अनाज भी हटा दिया, फिर क्या होगा? खा पाएगा कच्चा मांस? मैं नहीं समझता कोई। और अगर इंसान को हटा के कुत्ते को अगर भेजा जाए वहां पे, वो किस चीज पे सबसे पहले झपटेगा? नेचुरल जो उसका, जिस चीज के लिए वो बना है, उसका इंटेस्टाइन सिस्टम या डाइजेस्टिव ट्रैक्ट जिस चीज के लिए बना है, वो वहां पर जाएगा ऑब्वियसली। तो मतलब इसको हम पाप पुण्य में नहीं बता रहे हैं, ठीक है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है, फूड इज फूड। बट जो हमारा नेचुरल इंस्टिंक्ट है हमें वो पकड़ना है कि हमारे लिए है क्या। एक फ्रूट के अंदर सब कुछ है। अभी बंदर को अगर हम ये सब चीजें सिखा देंगे कि भैया तेरा ब्लड प्रेशर चेक करवा ले और एक ब्लड रिपोर्ट निकलवा कि तेरे में B12 कितना है और D3 कितना है, तो वो छलांग मार नहीं पाएगा। एक पेड़ से दूसरे पेड़ पे वो यही सोचता रहे कि भाई ये D3 में कहां से कंप्लीट करूं। ओके, तो चीजें सिंपल है, कॉम्प्लेक्स, टू मच नॉलेज इज कर्स वो बोलते हैं जो। तो खुद पे एक्सपेरिमेंट, आसपास देखिए, काफी अच्छी सब्जियां, ऐसा नहीं है मतलब जो ऐड व्हाट्सएप यूनिवर्सिटी में जो चलता है कि हरी सब्जियों में इंजेक्शन लगा रहे हैं, हर कोई ऐसा नहीं करता है। अपने आसपास बहुत अच्छे किसान लोग हैं, वेंडर्स हैं जो अच्छी चीजें सप्लाई करते हैं, आसपास देखिए, उनसे बात करिए, बार्गेन मत करिए। ठीक है, आप थोड़ा ज्यादा दे देंगे वो आपको अच्छा ला के देंगे, उनके आप खुलिए उनके साथ। किसी मॉल में जाके चमचमाती हुई चीजें फटाफट ट्रॉली में डाल के बिल फाड़ना इजी है, मार्केट में थोड़ा एफर्ट जाता है, बट अपने लिए ढूंढिए, मिलेगा। मुझे मिला है, आपको भी मिलेगा। तो ये छोटी सी जर्नी थी मेरी, और क्वेश्चन एंड आंसर आप पूछ सकते हैं।
पर अभी मुझे भी और एक क्वेश्चन है। तो जैसे मैंने जब भी डिसाइड किया कि मैं एवरेस्ट क्लाइम करूंगा, तो मैं तो एकदम जंक फूड वीगन था। ठीक है, मैं तो पाव वड़ा से लेके पाव भाजी से लेके पिज्जा से लेके सब कुछ ढूंढ ढूंढ के जो भी वीगन मिलता था सब खा लेता था. बट व्हेन आई जब भी मैंने डिसाइड किया तो अभी भी मुझे याद है, माय एक्सपीडिशन लीडर guy called Tim Rippel from Canada, he said to climb to the top of the world you need a top of the world body and you need a top of the world mind. और मुझे समझ गया कि यार टॉप ऑफ द वर्ल्ड बॉडी है ना, ये जंक फूड खा के नहीं मिलने वाला है, तो इसके लिए थोड़ा सुधरना पड़ेगा खाने में और वो सब करने में. सो आई वॉन्ट ईच वन ऑफ यू टू ऑल्सो टेल द ऑडियंस, लाइक ट्राई एंड ब्रेक डाउन कि तुम लोग दिन में क्या खाते हो. लाइक तुम्हारा लाइक ज्यादा डिटेल में मत जाओ, लाइक say what you eat in a breakfast, what you eat in a lunch and what you eat in a dinner, and if you can also take some time and tie it into questions like as a vegan. अभी मुझे याद है कि मैं 2012 में एक जिम में गया था. आई जॉइन द गोल्ड्स जिम इन चेंबूर, और पहले 2 हफ्ते तक मुझे वहां का ट्रेनर एक ही चीज बोलता था कि प्रोटीन पाउडर खाओ, प्रोटीन पाउडर खाओ, प्रोटीन पाउडर खाओ. 2 हफ्ते के बाद मैंने जिम छोड़ दिया. उस दिन से मैं कभी जिंदगी में जिम के अंदर एंट्री नहीं मारी है मैंने. तो वो भी आई वुड होप दैट ऑल ऑफ यू गाइज फ्रॉम योर जर्नीज कैन टाई इन के यार हम दिन में ये खाते हैं और इससे मुझे मेरा प्रोटीन और कैल्शियम और आयरन और XYZ सब कुछ मिल जाता है. तो क्योंकि ये बहुत ही वैलिड क्वेश्चन है. काफी लोग हंस के निकाल देते हैं, वीगन्स को क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं, वेयर डू यू गेट योर प्रोटीन फ्रॉम, वेयर डू यू गेट योर प्रोटीन फ्रॉम. मेरे हिसाब से तो ये वैलिड क्वेश्चन है कि वेयर डू यू गेट योर प्रोटीन फ्रॉम. और आई होप कि आप लोग ऑडियंस को बताओ कि आपको आपका प्रोटीन कहां से मिल रहा है आपके खुद के स्पोर्ट के लिए, और आप दिन कैसे प्लान करते हो. आई हैव पर्सनली, मैंने तो मेरा दिन पूरा सिंप्लीफाई कर दिया ताकि मैं एकदम ही सिंपल चीजें खाऊं दिन में और मुझे मेरा मिल जाए. बट आई वुड लाइक यू गाइज, ईच वन ऑफ यू टू टेल योर स्टोरीज टू द ऑडियंस कि आप क्या खाते हो दिन में, इन होप्स दैट इवन दे कैन लर्न फ्रॉम योर जर्नीज.
Go, please.
Okay, so just a little background about me. I don't consider myself as an athlete. These gentlemen over here probably have far greater athletic achievements than I have. For the most part, I just go to the gym to have a good time, lift some weights, and look good. That's about it. So my diet is pretty flexible. For the most part, my goals are to complete my protein intake in the day, supplement wherever required, whatever it is which I'm not able to fulfill from my diet, and have the foods which I enjoy. I think taste preference is very important as far as diet planning is concerned. So my day starts off with a kind of a boring breakfast, but it's boring because it's simple to make. It's convenient to prepare, and it's oatmeal. It's oatmeal with some coconut milk. I add sugar, a lot of sugar. I like sweet oatmeal, and I'll have a serving of protein powder. Lunch is generally dal and rice. Now I have a mild gluten sensitivity. That is not to say that gluten is bad for you. It's just I don't tolerate it as well as most people do. Gluten sensitivity is rare, so unless you have a gluten sensitivity, don't adopt what I do. So because of my gluten sensitivity, things like wheat, chapatis, some of these whole grains are out of bounds for me. So I rely pretty heavily on rice. So my lunch and dinner look very similar. There's a healthy serving of rice along with lentils or rajma or chole, one of those things. Any normal sabzi which is prepared at home, and some form of protein in the form of soya. So that will either be in the form of soya chunks or it will be in the form of tofu. That is what lunch and dinner looks like, very, very identical. Evenings can be flexible. I have another serving of protein powder to make sure that I'm getting my protein to complete my protein intake for the day. Basically what I do is I make sure that I get a bolus of protein evenly spread throughout the day. So if my goal is to consume, let's say 120 grams of protein, I'll just divide it into 4 equal doses, somewhat equal. And along with that, I'll have anything which I enjoy. So I'll have maybe a serving of fruit. If there's dosa, I'll have some dosa. If there's sabudana khichdi prepared, I'll have some sabudana khichdi. Every once in a while, I'll probably go out with my friends also and enjoy some junk vegan food. Okay.
Can I interject for a second?
Yeah.
You just said that if your goal for the day is 120 grams of protein.
Right.
Why would your goal for the day be 120 grams of protein? Is there any fault?
Of course. So for athletes, most athletes who engage in some form of resistance exercise, a gram per pound of body weight is what is recommended, or probably 1.8 grams per kg is what is recommended. For vegans, it can be slightly higher because a lot of vegan food sources which are rich in protein, they tend not to have the best amino acid profile, which is fine. That doesn't mean that those sources of protein do not count. But it's generally a good idea to consume slightly extra. Now, because my goals are not very serious, I hover around the 120 gram range. Probably if I had more serious goals, I'd probably consume a little more protein. But yeah, that's why I consume around 120 grams of protein. Maybe for someone who's like a mountain climber or an endurance athlete, their protein requirements are slightly on the lower side, so they can probably get away with less than what I consume. That's about it. I eat everything as long as it's not derived from an animal. A lot of junk food is pretty enjoyable for the most part. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm thinking where to start. So I take a completely different approach to everything. As I said, I come from a very, very scientific background. So I'll just take you through a little journey that I went through maybe a few years ago. Okay. Incidentally, running is my thing. I really love running. And when I ran my fastest marathon, I was 72 kgs. Okay. And for the longest time, I haven't stopped running. I've been running for 20 years. And I run on average 4 to 5 marathons a year. And none of the times were close to that. The fastest was 2 hours 48 minutes. And now I am hovering anywhere between 3:45 and 4 hours, which is comfortable. But I wanted to get it lower. And I kept thinking to myself, if I'm vegan and I'm running on average 10 Ks a day, how is it that I am not at my optimum body weight to be able to perform at the manner that I wanted to? Okay. So I'm a biohacker. I hack my body and I hack my mind to unlock performance. And through that, through hacking my body and mind, I'm able to raise the performance of my athletes by hacking their body. So I started off with a few things to try to understand my body. And this is what you need to understand is, not everyone here will be an athlete. Not everyone will be a mountaineer. Not everyone will be a runner. Some of you may have a corporate job. Some of you may have all sorts of jobs. But at the center of every single thing is you, the individual. Okay, you, the individual, will need to accomplish every single goal that you set for. So the foundation of everything is to actually understand your own body and your own mind better than you understand anything else. And that's where you need to start. So that's exactly where I started. And I went to a few doctors to try to get some information, a few researchers. People pointed me to what was called an allergy test. They said, perhaps you're not at your optimal body weight because your body is allergic to certain foods. So I listened to all of them and I did this. And the thing is, an allergy test is a waste of time because an allergy gives you an adverse reaction. If you have an adverse reaction to something, then you will know. Your body will do everything it's possible to eject it from your body. So it doesn't help. So then I went a step further into what was called an intolerance test. And I was looking for what is called subtle intolerances. And remember, all of this is within my vegan diet. I've been vegan for a very long time, but within this vegan diet, there had to be something that was not agreeing with my body. So I went and found out what were the subtle intolerances in my body that it wasn't. So I removed all of those subtle intolerances that I had. Okay, and it actually doesn't stop there, because even foods that your body can tolerate, your body can still not digest, and you can still not harness the goodness from that food. And what I went into is called a microbiome test. Okay, a microbiome test is where you test the culture, the number, and the types of bacteria in your gut, okay, that are able to metabolize the foods that you're eating to be able to unlock the goodness that you want out of that. And if your gut doesn't have that bacteria, irrespective, even if you're eating kale, you're not getting the benefit from it. Okay, so I had to start mapping my gut bacteria to the type of food that I was eating. Okay, and it's only when I went into that level that I actually started seeing phenomenal changes in the ability to focus, my ability to sleep better. My deep REM sleep went from 3%, which average person is between 2 to 3%. It went to 11%. You need to be above 10. It took me 4 months to get there just by changing my gut bacteria. I started looking at how I needed to eat different types of vegan food to change the culture of your bacteria every single 3 or 4 months, because not just healthy bacteria but diversity of bacteria. I looked at and I started looking at how to test the cultures that I'm eating to make sure the cultures are actually live, you know. So, this is what my journey is, and it's probably very boring for most people, but I'm a scientist and I go deep into this because every single thing I look at food as medicine, and I'm sure all of you all do as well. I'm sure that every single one of you all looks at it. But the reason I'm telling you this is that if you truly think food is medicine and you truly want to unlock the potential that you're eating from that food, you need to walk down the same journey that I'm walking down. Because not all protein is good. Not every green you eat is giving you the benefit that you think of. You understand? It starts with understanding your body. And if you can understand your body and you can understand how it will metabolize stuff and break stuff, you will completely change the way you sleep. You'll completely change the way you think. Everything. Even the types of foods you eat. For example, you eat anything that's smoked or anything that's aged, it has a high concentration of histamines. Histamines will increase your anxiety, your depression, and your headaches in there. This is directly linked to that. Your body will not metabolize it. Your body does not metabolize all types of greens, all types of berries, everything that you eat. It doesn't. Every single person's gut bacteria is different, and it takes you 3 months to reculture a new type of gut bacteria. Okay, so it's important to understand this. You can even go into the extent of mapping what are the vegetables available in your area, so to be able to cultivate gut flora in accordance with what's available, so that you're unlocking everything. And over a period of 3 to 4 months of actually doing this, you'll start seeing how everything changes. Your body will slim up. Okay, your body will tone up, your skin will start glowing, the elasticity in your entire muscles, your tendons will perform absolutely. So once you go into this, I'm sure everyone will give you recipes and tell you what to eat. You've spent the whole day here, you have no shortage of eating options, right? That's why I'm telling you this, because this is something you won't hear very often. This is what you need to know. This is the journey you need to embark on to truly unlock the potential in yourself and your food. Thank you.
Okay. I would also like to share a little bit of the views, generic views, before I come into my own diet, because I don't think I'm actually eating really, really healthy. So what I normally do, like Samuel says, I involve myself into a lot of research. And let me tell you something. Till today, we are still discovering different ways of eating. All right, there are different factions, there are different school of thought. Somebody says low carb, somebody says high carb, somebody says eat fat, somebody says eat protein. There are various school of thoughts that are there. They are still experimenting with those thoughts. There is not one school of thought or one type of diet that works for somebody. It might work for a section of people, it might work for you, it might not work for me. Having said that, what everybody or most of it will say that it has to go towards plant-based. To most of it. Where you are getting your nutrients from is important. Alright? And if you look at any of this school of thoughts, you will see that majority of this are now talking about plant-based. Majority of it, right? Even when you are sick, for that matter, right? You heard of detox diets, so on and so forth. In all of those diets, there is staying away from meat or animal. It's all about plant-based. So I try to take in something which is very, very generic. It's very easy for us to get confused with the different variety of diets that are out there. There are new type of diets coming every now and then. Okay, what is important, as Shamal said, and this is a research that's coming lately, that all of it is linked to your gut. All right, so the gut and the human body has trillions and trillions of bacteria. There are good bacteria, there is bad bacteria. The idea is to optimize the good bacteria through the diet that you have, okay, and minimize the effect of bad bacteria. So your prebiotic and probiotic, the sources can be anything that you can decide depending on what is available to you, what is conditioned for you, and what is easy for you. But you have to inculcate a good amount of probiotics or prebiotics into your diet, because gone are the days of generic diet recommendations. For example, if you go to a nutritionist or a dietitian, what they are doing with you and what they are doing with anyone else for that matter is a process of trial and error. So you go to them and you say that send me a diet chart or send me a diet plan. They recommend based on what generally works for most of us. Then you go back to them and say that, hey, I did not lose my weight, or I did not do this, I did not do that. And then they try to tweak it a little bit. So they are in the process of a trial and error. They are trying to understand, and then they get to you, right? What Shamal mentioned, which is a research that is coming into, is that it's easier to do your gut microbe test to see whether the same spinach, which is generally accepted everywhere that it's a healthy food, may not be working out for you. So you can take off spinach, for instance, off the table from your diet. Okay? It has to go into scientific, but it has to go into scientific related to your body, not which is generic out there. And like how we are distinct as individuals, our gut microbe is distinct, and that's what sets it different. Okay? And if you look at it, everything related to the human individual, whether it is the growth or it is the disease, the inflammation, or the thinking, is controlled by what is called the second brain or the gut, and a lot of it is out there, and the drivers for that is the food. Okay, so I'm just trying to lay out certain groundwork which you guys can probably take away from, because I'm not going to inculcate here whether you are going to eat a diet. All of you know, all of us knows what is healthy, what is non-healthy. I think there is absolute clarity about it. It's just that we may or may not be following that. True? Yeah? The idea is, what is that you can try. So the major challenge, as I call it, whatever is your region in terms of making this transition, I believe that there are three very, very important body parts which makes a person change, and more specifically in this one. First is the mind. Okay, you got to have a mind where it strikes you and tells you that, hey, I got to make a change in myself, especially when it comes to a very important thing like diet. All right, then you got to have the heart to do that, right? And the third, if anybody can tell me, especially with related to diet, a very, very important part of the body. Yes, a lot of us don't talk about it. A lot of us don't pay attention to it, because the moment we think about a particular food, even if we want to avoid, whether it's the vada pav, the pizza or anything, our mouth gets watery. So if we can have control on our mind, control on our heart, to have compassion in terms of the food choices that we make, and a control on our tongue, which is very, very important, then I think to large extent, all of us will be eating healthy. All right? Coming back to what I eat, I just try to make sure that it's vegan and plant-based. Other than that, I don't care about the proteins that I take. I don't care about how much it is, because honestly, if you ask me, if we get into that much of detailing and that much of control, it might get to a level where it might be stressful for us. You know, there are certain recommendations. People will say, eat in small quantities, eat frequently. I look at more in terms of whether it is overall good and it is sustainable. Now just imagine, eating 3 meals or 3 times a day is difficult for us, isn't it? How I wish that all of us or human beings had to eat just once. Life would have been much easier if you had to just eat once. Just eating 3 meals in a day is difficult. Then you go to a dietitian, or he or she recommends eat 6 meals in a day. Good for the short term, but can you think it is going to be sustainable till lifelong? No. So look at a change which is easier for you to sustain lifelong. Don't just look at something which is a fad or something which is being recommended by even your dietitian or nutritionist. My recommendation is that if you think that food and through food your health is important, your health, then do the study and research for yourself. Don't try to believe even the doctor. Don't try to believe. When I say believe, what I mean to say is that verify, right? And you are the person who can verify what works or what works not for you. Spend a little bit of time on research. In today's time, all the information is available. Read a lot of documents. Make your own, judgment in terms of all of this. Because the moment you can start reading and learning about it, I'm sure you'll connect the dots. All right? So that's about it. I try to make it very generic so that it can help you better.
ओके किसको क्या खाना चाहिए ये इंडिविजुअल चीज़ है, ये बहुत अच्छी बात बताई हमारे वैज्ञानिक बंधु ने और हमारे धर्मेंद्र जी ने, बहुत अच्छी बात है। स्पोर्ट्समैन मैं भी कोई टॉप लेवल का एथलीट नहीं हूँ, मैंने भी जस्ट शुरू ही किया, बट मुझे भी नई नई बातें मालूम पड़ती हैं धीरे धीरे, क्योंकि इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे वीगन प्रोफेशनल एथलीट्स हैं जो वीगन है, बट काफ़ी साइंटिफिक अप्रोच है उनकी, जो मुझे एक बार फिर ये रिमाइंड हुआ। बट एक चीज़ है जो बहुत जनरल है, सबके लिए कॉमन है, हर इंडिविजुअल के लिए खाने के टर्म्स में, वो क्या है? क्या खाना है वो तो ठीक है, मगर कैसे खाना है? वो जनरली हम कैसे खाना खाते हैं घर पे? कौन से सीरियल के साथ खाते हैं? कौन सी पिक्चर के साथ खाते हैं? टीवी मोबाइल के साथ खाते हैं या नहीं? साइलेंटली खाते हैं कि नहीं? हमारे दिमाग में क्या चल रहा होता है जब हम खाते हैं? जो हमारी दादी माँ बोलती थी 32 दांत है तो 32 बार चबाना चाहिए, वो हम फॉलो करते हैं कि नहीं? ये खाली पानी और खाना, पानी 10 मिनट, 10 मिनट भी बहुत ज़्यादा बोल दिया मैंने, आजकल तो 2 मिनट। तो सिट साइलेंटली एंड ईट योर फूड साइलेंटली, एंजॉय इट। सब्जी रोटी मिक्स करने की जगह रोटी अलग सब्जी अलग एक बार टेस्ट करके देखिए, अलग अलग टेस्ट करके देखिए उनका। मसाले स्प्रिंकल करना, नमक मिर्ची स्प्रिंकल करना थोड़ा कम करिए, नेचुरली जो टेस्ट है वो फील करिए उसका। आपके टेस्ट बर्ड्स, हमारे टेस्ट बर्ड्स जो फील कर सकते हैं वो फील करिए। खाना जो नरिशमेंट, जो उसमें तत्व हैं, जब आप उसको अच्छी तरह चबाएंगे नहीं, सलाइवा उसमें अपना जो थूक है उसमें मिक्स नहीं होगा, तब तक मतलब गट बैक्टीरिया को भी एक्स्ट्रा मेहनत क्यों करवाओ जो दांत में हो सकती है पहले, ठीक है ना? तो ये चीज़ें बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट, ये मैं भी कभी कभी भूल जाता हूँ, क्योंकि ज्ञान देना बहुत आसान है फॉलो करना बहुत मुश्किल है, ये मेरे से भी हो जाता है। मैं भूल जाता हूँ, फिर क्लिक होता है अरे यार हाँ ये गलत खाया, अच्छी तरह खाना चाहिए था। तो मेरी भी जर्नी है, हम सब एक जर्नी पर हैं, कोई डेस्टिनेशन इसका है ही नहीं एक्चुअली, इट इज़ ऑल जर्नी एंड बस इसी का नाम जिंदगी है।
Just last question from my side and then I will get into audience questions. Please, whoever has questions, keep them ready. जब मैं वीगन बना तो, और ऑफ कोर्स चलो वीगन बना, मैं तो कोई एथलीट नहीं था, मैं तो 110 किलोज का था, मैं तो अपनी लाइफ आराम से जी रहा था, बट अचानक से लाइफ में एवरेस्ट आ गया और फिर पूरे टाइम यही सुना यार कि वीगन डाइट में नहीं होगा एवरेस्ट। गूगल पे जाके टाइप किया क्लाइंबिंग एवरेस्ट एज अ वीगन। कभी जिंदगी में ऐसा हुआ गूगल ने आंसर नहीं दिया है कोई क्वेश्चन का? मेरे साथ हो गया, कोई रिस्पांस नहीं आया गूगल से। तो सब एक्सपीडिशन लीडर ने भी वही बोला यार मीट अंडा डेयरी खाना जरूरी है, होगा ही नहीं। बट मेरे मन में तो क्लियर था यार एवरेस्ट चढ़ना है तो एज अ वीगन चढ़ना है, वरना नहीं चढ़ना है। तो आई डिसाइडेड, आई वेंट थ्रू द जर्नी एंड फूड वॉज, आई विल कैटेगरिकली से दैट पूरे 10 साल की जो क्लाइंबिंग जर्नी है, food not once has been a problem. हमेशा vegan food even at the top of the world 29,000 feet -40 डिग्री में मिल गया, ठीक है? तो कभी प्रॉब्लम नहीं हुआ है। तो आई जस्ट वांट टू आस्क वन लास्ट क्वेश्चन कि आपके हिसाब से अगर आप अच्छा गुड हेल्दी वीगन डाइट खा रहे हो, इनफ वेजिटेबल्स, इनफ फ्रूट्स, इनफ लेंटिल्स, इनफ होल ग्रेन्स, जो मेरे हिसाब से एक जेनेरिक अच्छी हेल्दी वीगन डाइट है, अगर आप खा रहे हो तो डू यू थिंक दैट, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल आई वांट टू क्लाइम एवरेस्ट और आई वांट टू रन अ आयरन मैन और आई वांट टू रन और आई वांट टू बिकम अ कॉम्पिटिटिव स्पोर्ट्स में जाना है, लाइक यू नो मेरा भाई इधर बैठा है, उसकी डॉटर इज यू नो अ स्प्रिंटर, she runs 100 meters in 12 seconds, you know she is setting state records and she is a vegetarian athlete, तो कर पाती है सब कुछ. तो मुझे जस्ट ये पूछना है कि ऑन अ वीगन डाइट इज दिस ऑल पॉसिबल, एंड आपका एक फाइनल मैसेज क्या है सब लोगों के लिए?
हाँ जी, तो सबसे पहले तो एक बहुत सिंपल चीज समझ लेते हैं हम कि कोई भी ऐसे फूड में वन फूड डज नॉट मेक और ब्रेक द डाइट. अभी हमारे देश में ज़्यादा करके लोग लैक्टो वेजिटेरियंस हैं, जिसका मतलब कि डेयरी प्रोडक्ट्स छोड़ के फॉर द मोस्ट पार्ट वो वीगन डाइट ही फॉलो करते हैं. एंड कभी भी आप किसी को पूछोगे कि अच्छा लैक्टो वेजिटेरियन हो, पनीर खाते हो, दूध पीते हो, चीज़ खाते हो, वे प्रोटीन लेते हो, केसिन प्रोटीन लेते हो, तो फिर भाई ठीक है, मतलब आपका प्रोटीन इंटेक फुलफिल हो रहा है, आपको कैल्शियम मिल रहा है. पर हमें ऐसा सोचना चाहिए कि ये डेयरी में ऐसी कौन सी यूनिक न्यूट्रिएंट्स हैं जो मेरे को कोई और फूड से मिल नहीं सकते हैं. आजकल तो हमारे पास सप्लीमेंट्स भी है, ठीक है. अभी काफ़ी लोगों की अलग अलग राय होती है सप्लीमेंट्स के बारे में. आई थिंक सप्लीमेंट्स आर फैंटास्टिक. द वेरी फैक्ट दैट यू कैन टेक अ पिल टुडे एंड come close to reaching the RDA of each micronutrient in a very, very simple, convenient, easily affordable fashion, I think that's fantastic. तो मैं बोलता हूँ कि एटलीस्ट दो सप्लीमेंट एसेंशियल होते हैं वीगन डाइट में. एक होता है विटामिन D3 और दूसरा होता है विटामिन B12. ओमेगा 3 फैटी एसिड्स की भी सप्लीमेंट लेनी चाहिए मोस्ट एथलीट्स को, क्योंकि ये जो 3 न्यूट्रिएंट्स हैं थोड़े मुश्किल हो जाते हैं वीगन डाइट से प्राप्त करना. ओके, बट ये एक बहुत ज़रूरी चीज़ है कि आप ये सोचो कि कोई भी ऐसा फूड नहीं है, देयर इज नथिंग स्पेशल अबाउट एनी फूड. At the end of the day, our body cares about nutrients, not the source of those nutrients. If we are able to acquire, let's say, the nutrients which you are getting from a non-vegan diet or a lacto-vegetarian diet or an ovo-vegetarian diet, if we can acquire those same nutrients from vegan foods or even supplements, then there is essentially no difference between a vegan diet and a non-vegan diet. I'm someone who doesn't believe that a vegan diet is superior or plant-based diet is superior. I just don't think the evidence is there to indicate that. But the difference between a vegan diet and non-vegan diet is not that great. That is the point I'm trying to drive over here. Most people, especially in India, are already very, very close to following a vegan diet. So that's about it.
Let me think. So the question was, is it possible on the vegan diet? The answer is yes. The reason why it's possible to win an Olympic medal on a vegan diet is because your diet is one of 500 different things that are going to make you win that medal. So any deficit that you find in the diet, you need to super compensate it with the advantage in something else. So that is why you can 100% win it. What I mean is, by example, that an athlete can make up for with superior strength. An endurance athlete can train at a higher altitude and teach his body to absorb oxygen quicker and get it to his muscles. And that could potentially supercompensate for any deficit he's getting in terms of his nutrition through a vegan diet. Diet is just one of the many, many variables that will lead to you performing at an optimum best. So it is 100% possible for you to get it. But like I said, you have to know what are the variables that you're playing with. You have to know your body. You have to know where can I potentially get a difference. Because it's quite interesting. When you talk of running a marathon, all of us can run a marathon. Anyone can run a marathon on a vegan diet. The question is, can you beat Eliud Kipchoge on a vegan diet? Anyone can run 100 meters on a vegan diet. The question is, can you beat Usain Bolt on a vegan diet? That is the question. Right? When you're talking performance enhancement is not about, just finishing. I don't work in that world. I work in the world where we finish, and you finish number one, and you raise the bar. Okay. So, is it possible? Yes, I sincerely believe it's possible. But I believe that you have to raise the bar so high in every other aspect, right, that this whatever loss you have here, if you do have any negligible loss, it's insignificant. So yes, thank you.
Okay, again, I'd like to just share a bit of thoughts before I could drive away the point. So, I think as long as we are alive, we have to eat food. And we are going to make mistakes, we are going to follow a diet. I'm not getting into that. I think what is important and what is something that gives me the peace of mind, right? In India, we have a term that we say in Hindi, कि कुछ भी करो रात को अच्छे से नींद आ जाए. You know, that is something that gives you satisfaction, whatever you do in life, right? For me, that satisfaction is, at least with related to food, is that I eat a very compassionate food. I think compassion for me is a choice that I will try to put it ahead of anything else, whether it is my performance. Even if I'm an athlete, I'm a runner and my performance goes down, I don't care. What I care about is a compassionate food that I eat. Okay, that is point number one. The second point I want to make now, coming to the diet related to performance, and talking a little bit about whether one can do it or not. Of course, as Samuel said, there are a lot of other factors, but keeping all the other factors aside, a plant-based diet will get you much earlier, faster, and I have my reasons for that. I'll just try to touch upon. See, there is this concept of something called the net gain energy. For example, bacon has protein, right? And plant-based, I can take off, say, pumpkin seeds has proteins. Now, if you look at gram to gram, first of all, pumpkin seeds has more gram of proteins than bacon. That's the first thing. The second thing is, when you eat the bacon and when it gets metabolized in your system, your body is burning energy to metabolize. Are you guys with me? Are you able to understand? So even metabolism takes away energy from the body. All right? Whereas the energy taken to metabolize a plant, or in this case seed, is not as high as what it would take to metabolize bacon. So what's happening? The net gain of energy in your body is higher. A very, very simple concept, very, very simple to understand. Just keep this in mind and try to get your maths right in terms of it. Does I'm a firm believer that, like anything, it's not about just getting that thing. It's also about the source, right? I mean, there are many ways. If I can just try to draw a corollary here, there are many ways to get money, but where is the source, Baba? Just tell me that. How did you earn this money? And sources are important like anything in life. Okay? So where do you get your proteins from? Very fundamental question. Everybody asks it. But ask back the same question to them. Do you know how many grams of proteins do we need? A lot of us don't even know that. So we are not aware in terms of what we are putting in or how much we require to begin with, whether it is protein or calcium or anything of that sort. And then we get all this paranoia about asking this kind of questions. The third is, if you look at, the process of putting the food in the mouth, right? If you look at the whole process before that food comes onto the table, and I'm talking about meat here, okay? Just imagine how that food ended up there, right? Right from the source, or from where it was farmed and all of that. I don't want to go into gory pictures of that. Plus the process after you've put the food in your mouth, in terms of metabolism and so on and so forth. If you just look at these two pictures, you will get your answer. Okay? I don't want to put too many facts here, but just think for a while, whatever you are eating, it could be the plant, it could be anything else, the process that has gone before it has to come on your table, and the process that is going to get consumed in your body, how it affects. You will get your answer there. So, like I said, sources are important, and more than anything else, compassion is important. Okay? So, I know a lot of us, again, just talking a little bit more about compassion, or in terms of again, a lot of us say we are vegan, but all of us know that there are 100% vegans. There are not people who are 100% vegan. And my idea of that is that either you are 100% vegan or you are not. Especially in terms of a diet, I don't want to go into holistic vegan, because you can't just say that, okay, I eat it on certain days, I don't eat it on certain days. I think that's not right. Okay. I draw a corollary here in terms of speaking the truth. You can't just say that, okay, 5 days I speak the truth, and the 2 days in a week I don't speak the truth. So just question yourself. Just go anything. Just try to go a little deeper into it, and just try to see whether you are able to do justice to your own actions in terms of what you are going to uptake. So I just want to end it with the thought that I know a lot of us have the mind and the heart for compassion. I will just request all of you to have the right tongue and change what's there on your plate and go plant-based. Thank you.
Just one quick thing. There's a car, Hyundai, grey color, MH43 AJ3640. If it's anyone's here, it's causing traffic issues, please go and fix it. MH43 AJ3640. Okay. Siddharth.
धन्यवाद कुंतल भाई। तो मैं भी अभी एक्सपेरिमेंटल जर्नी पर ही हूँ, ठीक है। 5 साल ही हुए इस जर्नी को स्टार्ट हुए। तो वीगन या नॉन वीगन की बहस में मैं जनरली पढ़ता नहीं हूँ, ठीक है। बट एज ए पर्सन जो मैंने अपने आप पे एक्सपेरिमेंट किया है, जो मैं नॉन वीगन भी था मैं नॉन वीगन भी था, और वीगनिज्म में चेंज होके जो रिजल्ट्स मिले वो अमेजिंग है। बट मेरी भी जर्नी है, काफ़ी कुछ नई बातें सीखने को मिल रही हैं। और ये बात ठीक है, जब आप एक्सट्रीम में कुछ करना चाहते हैं, परफॉर्मेंस बेस्ड, या यू डेफिनेटली नीड सम अप्रोच, कि ऐसा नहीं है कि एक सुबह उठे और कर दिया। यू डेफिनेटली नीड सर्टेन अप्रोच, विच आई एम ऑल्सो एक्सपेरिमेंटिंग फॉर माई सेल्फ। सप्लीमेंट्स पर मैं कुछ कमेंट नहीं करूंगा, बिकॉज जैसा मैंने कहा कि मैं भी एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहा हूँ। फ्यूचर में मैं अगर लूँगा भी, ज़रूरत पड़ी लूँगा, तो मैं ये देखूंगा उसका सोर्स क्या है, कि वो कहीं किसी का शोषण करके तो नहीं आया है, किसी जीव का, या किसी गलत तरीके से। मैं वो सब जांच करूंगा पहले उस कंपनी का, और अगर ठीक लगा तो लेने में कोई हर्जा तो नहीं है। और बस आई थिंक, और बाकी अगर प्रोटीन, और अगर कोई ऐसी चीज़, कोई D3 या ओमेगा अगर जरूरी भी है, मगर अगर वो किसी जीव की हत्या करके मुझे मिले तो वो मुझे नहीं चाहिए। मैं वैसे ही मरना पसंद करूंगा।
Can we get into can we get couple of audience questions? A lot of audience questions. We have 10 minutes, so
So, so my question. So my. I think they don't want me to speak. Maybe you can just take.
you can tell your question to me.
I'm quite loud. I think I'm quite loud. So my question is on the supplements, right? Now, as athletes, a lot of food that you eat also has to be very natural in its original form. More from. Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I was very loud. So I'm saying, my question is on supplements. As athletes, you try to eat
a little
more,
closer.
You try to eat more whole foods, more natural foods, purely, more to get the optimal nutrition. So when you're talking supplements, you're talking about processed foods. Doesn't that also include, when they come with preservatives, or they come, when they're processing, you're kind of adding on other things to it, and there's a shelf life. So the moment you're talking about a shelf life, there's preservatives. So don't that harm the body in some form? Because that's not naturally how you're supposed to be eating. I mean, nature has not intended us to eat supplements. Nature has intended us to eat whole foods. Yes, certain amount of supplementation, but when you put out there that, as an athlete, supplementation is something that convenience and all of that apart, but from a performance perspective, it's just a thought that I have.
I completely get that, and it's a very common question which gets asked every time the topic of supplements or processed foods comes up. Um, in a nutshell, the argument which is being presented is an appeal to nature. It is to say that what exists in nature is good, and anything which does not exist in nature is bad. But we can test this. Like Shamal says, he uses a very scientific approach. I like to use a scientific approach as well. And we can test this. We can take, let's say, a natural food, which also, by the way, has a shelf life. Most natural foods probably have a shorter shelf life than processed foods. And we can compare it to a food which has a very similar nutrition profile but is more processed. And we can see the effects it has on the body. That's what the scientific process is for, the scientific method is for. And you can make a comparison on a case-by-case basis and see if there is a genuine harm or there's a genuine disadvantage of consuming processed foods. And so far, I'm not aware of any. So, having said that, though, if you don't consume, if you rely only on natural foods, it becomes very difficult to acquire certain nutrients. At least it becomes very difficult to practically acquire certain nutrients. For example, vitamin D3. A lot of people will tell you to get full body sun exposure when the sun is at its highest point in the day. Not very practical for most of us to do that. So, and we have a very simple solution to that. We have a vitamin D3 supplement. So, at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves the question, is there a good enough reason for us not to consume that supplement? Are the preservatives or whatever material the capsule is formed of, is that truly a problem for us? And so far, these things have been extremely well studied, and there is no disadvantage. If anything, a lot of processed foods, we can take something like soy proteins. I think another very common question that some people will have is, soy protein has phytoestrogens. Do they negatively impact performance or negatively impact hormone levels? Soy protein isolate or commercially prepared processed soy products, they often they are processed to such a degree that a lot of these harmful compounds or potentially harmful compounds, they are actually removed in the process. So here's an argument where you can make that in the processing or in the purification process of this protein, we are actually increasing the beneficial properties of this protein. So we have to look at things on a case-by-case basis. And more often than not, processed foods are just fine. Processed foods and supplements are absolutely fine.
I have two questions for Shamal.
Yeah.
You spoke about microbiome and that every 3 months the microbiome changes. So do we have to get our microbiome tested every 3 months and then decide on the foods we eat? And so it's difficult, it's not very practical probably to get our microbiome tested every
Correct.
3 months to decide which food suits us and which doesn't. And my second question is, if we figured out our microbiome, there still has to be a daily requirement of protein, your calcium, your iron, your omega-3s, your vitamin D, vitamin B12. So what is the requirement of all the 6 that I mentioned, and how do we still get them on a vegan diet?
So you test your microbiomes once every 6 months. Okay, you don't need to do it 3 months. It'll change once every 6 months, or it may not even change depending on it. If you keep eating the exact same food, then there's a good chance the test will change, but it will change negatively, because you need to introduce different types of food to introduce different types of cultures and diversity into your flora. So that's the most important thing. Now, your gut bacteria is completely independent of your RDA. These are two completely separate things. So your protein intake based on your requirements, your carb, your multivitamins, your antioxidant intakes, these are completely different. Gut bacteria is going down onto a level with your body's ability to absorb it from the compounds and nutrients that you are taking in. Okay, so once you understand that, that will give you a filter of what you can eat, and using that filter, we then look at what our RDAs are to get it. And to answer the previous person said, in terms of your processed foods, what we're currently asking of our body today is far more than what the body was designed for. You know, the human body was not designed to run a marathon in 2 hours. It was not designed to go and climb up to the top of Everest, because the body cannot survive at 29,000. It goes into fetal stage, so it absorbs less oxygen. The entire body starts shrinking at that. And the reason it's shrinking is it was not supposed to, not designed to get up there. When you play cricket in a side-lying position, right? You're batting sideways, you're bowling sideways. The human body was not designed to operate sideways. So when you raise the demands of the body, you've got to raise the way you're taking in the nutrients, because it will not cope. You know, so that is why we look at alternatives, supplementation. You're right, the ideal way would be to get it in as naturally as possible, but sometimes the demands on the body are that high that we can't, you know. And when we're looking at gut bacteria in relation to supplements, in relation to everything, it is trial and error. It's about finding it out. But the beauty is we've got our science down to a level that for $100 or $150, you can get a gut bacteria test that make sure. And then remember, once you understand, it's really scientific now, but once you understand your gut bacteria, you can go into an epigenetic level and actually modify your genes. You know, the human body used to be able to produce its own vitamin C, but because we took so much of vitamin C in externally, we've mutated our gene to not produce that. Okay, and gene mutation can actually happen in the space of 10 years. You know, we can do that. So it's very, very important to understand this, because it's a secret to healing yourself. All your chronic illnesses, all your asthma, your gut bacteria is linked to that. It's linked to your headaches, your depression. Every single thing is linked into that there. So, yeah.
So we'll have one question and we'll finish the session. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so my question is for Shamal sir. So sir, I just wanted to ask about that, after becoming vegan, I got to know about, that we need to take care of the things going on in our body in terms of pH level as well. Yes. That I never got to, know when I was not a vegan, because people are all talking about proteins, carbs, multivitamins and fats and all that. But pH is very important.